What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to this video. Now, Euro 2024 is kicking off later this week in just a few days time. And so I thought for this video we could cover one of the favorites to win this tournament, England. Looking at the team selection for England, we can see they already have a very good squad with tons of depth. At goalkeeping, we could find Everton's Jordan Pickford, who is a very good keeper, a very stable keeper, and a very solid keeper. I think Pickford has maybe not had the best season with his club, but he's still a fantastic goalkeeper when it comes to playing for the national side. In his replacement, we will find Arsenal's Aaron Ramsdale. Now, Ramsdale has really struggled to get any playing time this season behind David Raya at Arsenal. But I think that doesn't change the fact that Aaron Ramsdale is a great goalkeeper. If anything, I think Ramsdale in particular might use what few appearances he might get in this tournament to perhaps cement a move away from the Emirates. At the heart of England's defense, I think we will find Manchester City's John Stones. Now, John Stones also is a very physical, very strong defender. Perhaps a little bit sluggish when it comes to taking off and his overall speed, but I think intelligence-wise, he's a very, very smart player. And I think that is something he's developed by playing under Pep Guardiola. This is a player who now not just is a great defender, but he can play a variety of roles as well. You can ask John Stones to play out as a wingback or even slot him into your midfield as a holding midfielder. It's allowed him to add a bit of flexibility and variety to his game. Speaking of out wide, I think at right back we will find Manchester City's Kyle Walker. Now, Kyle Walker's been very instrumental in all of the success that Manchester City have enjoyed over the last few seasons. He's a very quick fullback who gives a lot to the team going forward. He's also very, very fast, so if England by any chance lose the ball, they know that Kyle Walker can track back and cover for others defensively. At midfield, I think England have some very, very good and very talented young players. I want to start off with Trent Alexander-Arnold from Liverpool. Now, with Trent, you get a player who is very quick, very good at dead ball opportunities. This is a player who can take great free kicks, but also deliver pinpoint accurate corners. I think with Trent as well, he's a very flexible player. This is a player who originally started off playing at right back under Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. And he's just sort of tailored his game to be able to play more centrally and been able to play more connected play with the forward line. You can now see Trent Alexander-Arnold either playing in the center midfield roles or even out wide as a right winger. But he's a very good player, very quick and very talented. I think next up I have to talk about the gem in Real Madrid's crown this season in Jude Bellingham. In Jude Bellingham you get probably the most flexible player in England's squad. This is a player who can play anywhere in midfield. If you ask him to play defensively in a holding midfield position, he can do that. If you ask him to play centrally and control the game, dictate tempo, he can do that too. If you ask him to play higher up in a number 10 playmaking, attacking midfield role, he's very good at that too. And on top of it all, Jude Bellingham gets tons of goals from these midfield positions. I think also you can ask Bellingham to play out wide because he's not exactly a slow player. He's got a fair bit of pace about him, so he can beat players out wide. But I think it is centrally where we will see Jude Bellingham shine brightest. Next up, I want to talk a little bit about Declan Rice. Now, in Bellingham, we have a player who can do pretty much everything. In Trent Alexander-Arnold, we have a player who can play out wide. In Declan Rice, you have a player who can control the midfield, and that's usually what Declan Rice does for Arsenal. This is a player who I think will be tasked with hunting the ball down if England lose it. It'll be his job to pressure the opposition, to shut down their attacks, but to also play in a few long balls if he can. Declan Rice is also a player with a lot of variety in his game, able to play multiple roles, but I think it is his composure and his ability to control the game that will really be highlighted in this England squad. Now, I think Bukayo Saka is one of the best players that England have produced in the last few years. This is a player who's quick, he's tricky to deal with out wide, he can play in very good crosses with great accuracy, he can cut in and score. In Bukayo Saka, I think England finally have the kind of player that they've been lacking for all of these years. The player who can just take the game on his own and win it individually if it is necessary. I think alongside Saka up front, we will also see Manchester City's Phil Foden. Now, anything I've said about Saka applies to Foden as well. This is also a player with great flexibility, able to play a variety of roles up front. He's learned so much from having played under Pep Guardiola in these last few years. He can now control a game as well. He can run at opposition defenders. He can take shots. He can create tempo if it's necessary. He can pick up the speed of the game. But if you need a goal and if you need it very badly, Phil Foden will be your man. This is a player you can pass the ball to and know that he will take on 1, 2, perhaps even 3 opposition players and still find the back of the net. And speaking of finding the back of the net, I think the main outlet for goals in this England squad will be Harry Kane. This is a player who has moved from England to Germany and has just broken all sorts of records for Bayern Munich. Harry Kane is a pure number 9. This is a player who knows how to hold the ball up, who can score a variety of goals. He's a threat with the ball at his feet. He can score from long range. He can dribble with the ball and take it into the opposition box. He's also a threat aerially. So if England feel the need to start crossing the ball in, they know they have a great header at number 9 in Harry Kane. He's also a player who's very good at holding onto the ball. So if the idea is to get the ball to Harry Kane and then push up as a unit, he can hold onto it while his teammates get into better positions. But I think in terms of team selection, Gareth Southgate has a very, very good team at his disposal. In terms of tactics, England have always been famed for being a counter-attacking team that plays very well out wide. As opposed to utilizing England's past favoured 4-2-3-1 or 4-4-2, I think Gareth Southgate will here be employing a 4-3-3. This allows the team to spread the ball out wide to the wings, making use of the pace of players like Phil Foden and Bukayo Saka, but still maintain a certain degree of control centrally with players like Jude Bellingham and Declan Rice. I think in Cole Palmer they have a player who can just come off the bench and slot in pretty much anywhere. I think in players like Kyle Walker, they have a lot of pace from wing-back roles as well, so they've got creativity at the back. Centrally, they've got very solid centre-backs, players like John Stones who can just shut out the opposition altogether. I think England will still look to play counter-attack here, but now, thanks to all of these players who've played under Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, they have the additional threat of playing possession if they have to as well. I think we will see England moving the ball around from centre-back roles out wide and then looking to build from out wide, but if opposition wing-backs switch them off, they can then pass the ball centrally and know that players like Cole Palmer, Declan Rice, Bellingham and even Phil Foden, if he so chooses to drift centrally, can then dribble at the opposition and take players on in 1v1 situations. There are so many players that can play so many different roles, so you might see players drifting out of position and then drifting into new ones. Particularly with Kyle Walker and Trent Alexander-Arnold, you might see one starting in midfield and the other at right back, and then you might see them switch. In terms of the wingers, you might see Bukayo Saka on the right and then Phil Foden on the left, and then again, at about 15 minutes later, you might see the two of them switching. But I think all in all, England have threatening players everywhere. This is a very good squad. I think Gareth Southgate understands the talent that he has at his disposal. And I think the only challenge that he will have is finding ways to get the most out of everybody at the same time. In terms of my final word for England, I think this is a squad with great squad depth. If we look at their goalkeepers alone, having access to both Jordan Pickford and Aaron Ramsdale is a complete blessing. The only problem now comes in with who do you select to be your starting first choice goalkeeper. I think both have great merits, but it's not just at goalkeeping where I think Gareth Southgate has a bit of this selection problem. I think at right back as well, he's going to have a slight issue. Yes, Trent Alexander-Arnold can play centrally, but I think his best position is still right back. But then where do you put Kyle Walker? And what happens to Kieran Trippier, who's sitting on the bench? So now you have three players who want to play at right back, two who can kind of play somewhere else in Kyle Walker and Trent Alexander-Arnold, but you know that you're doing them a disservice by shifting them in centrally. I think at left back, they have a bit of a problem as well. Yes, they've selected Luke Shaw, but I don't think they have a good replacement for him, and I think Luke Shaw being selected as well is a little bit unfair considering he was injured for the bulk of the season with Manchester United. I think clashing egos also plays a role in the squad. With players like Phil Foden and Bukayo Saka, both of these players will feel that they deserve to play where they want to play. But what happens if both of them want to play in the same position? Who gets preferential treatment there? And I think that's where Gareth Southgate might struggle a little, is managing these egos, managing these players who are all performing at a top level but want to be the star. In terms of our rating system, I think defensively I must give the Three Lions squad a 4 out of 5. It is very good, it is very solid. One or two issues I think might crop up, but I think overall it is just a very, very good and very balanced defense with solid centre backs, good wing backs, and good goalkeepers. I think perhaps Gareth Southgate might regret not selecting Tomori from AC Milan to deputise at centre back when it's necessary. But I mean, he does have players like Kyle Walker and Trent at his disposal, so if he needs utility players, he does have them. In midfield, I think England have a very good balance of everything you need to have a successful midfield. So here as well, I give them a 4 out of 5. I think my only issue here as well is, how do you fit all of these talented players into just a midfield 3? Even if you do decide to go 4-5-1 here, you would then have to sacrifice your wingers, and it doesn't exactly solve the problem of who sits on the bench and who doesn't. While I think they do have a very good mix of endurance and stamina, creativity and ambition in the midfield, I think we might see a case of one or two players just maybe not being very certain and confident on the ball at times, and I think that's why England lose out on a single point for me. Up front, I think they have exactly what you need to be successful in a tournament. You have creative players out wide who can adapt their game plan, and instead of just cutting out wide to deliver crosses, can then cut in to score individual goals. I think they have a good centre forward who can score great goals, and a great variety of goals at that as well. But I think year 2, England get a 4 out of 5 for me. I think they're still just missing one or two key elements up front. I think year 2, they might regret not selecting Marcus Rashford for the team. I think with all of these other players, you get players who are very indirect with how they play. They're always looking to bring somebody else into the game. And in Marcus Rashford, you have a player who perhaps has a bit of a greedy streak in him, but who understands that if he's in a 1v1 situation, he can round a centre-back or a wing-back and go through on goal and score. And I think that is something we maybe won't see too much of with these players. They might perhaps consider other players as opposed to themselves in the first place. I think in terms of their overall performance in this tournament, I think England are in a very decent group. They're in Group C alongside Denmark and Slovenia, and also Serbia. So it's not too difficult. I do expect them to come up with a few problems against the Denmark, but I think against the other two, they should be okay. So I fully expect the Three Lions to qualify from the group stages as Group C winners. I expect to see them go through the round of 16. I expect them to maybe start picking up a few knocks or a bit of conflict here and there in the quarterfinals, but I expect them to make it through to the semi-finals. I then expect England to make it through to the finals. Yes, I am selecting the Three Lions as one of my finalists for this tournament, but I don't think they have what it takes to win it yet. They were in the finals of the previous version of this tournament against Italy, and they lost out on penalties. And having been so close, I think England can actually go one better and actually win it. But it does come down to them, their performances, and how they approach every game. But I do expect to see England in the final of this Euro 2024 in Germany. Hi, thank you for making it to the end of this video. We really appreciate the watch time. and the fact that you took some time out of your day to spend it with us talking about the sport that we all love. If you enjoyed the content, why not, drop a like down below or comment in the comment section. Um, Maybe even consider subscribing to the channel. And I mean, while you are here right now, have a look at some of our old videos too. They should be appearing on the screen right now, along with that subscribe button. So you know exactly what to do. Um, Thank you so much. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. And have a great day out there. And we hope to see you again very, very soon. Thanks. Stay safe.